So when people have behavioural problems, they've probably got an image in their mind about how they do their behaviours and what they're doing. So what we can do is to show them a technique where maybe they've got this picture in their mind of the behaviours and then another picture that they'd like to create that would be much better, a much better outcome for them. So we're really saying, we don't want this, we want this. And the more that we can say that, the more that it imprints on their mind about how they want to be. And of course our language is very important about how we are talking to them throughout that session. So typically I might ask a client to create an image in their mind, ask them to close their eyes and create an image in their mind of how they are at this moment in time. So in this picture, I want them to have it in colour and to be associated in it. So for an example then, if it was something like smoking, they might have the cigarette that was just about there, ready to come up to their mouth. And of course, if they're coming to see you, it's because they want to stop that habit. So it's going to be an unwanted picture, a picture that they would rather not have. Maybe they look very unhappy about that cigarette coming up towards their mouth. They have felt addicted towards it, but they just haven't been able to do anything about it. Maybe if they're wanting to be very confident and at the moment they can see an image of themselves feeling less than confident, then that picture would match how they're thinking inside. And so we can begin to discuss this as that's an old picture. That's how you used to be in the past. The minute that we begin to speak like that, we are past tensing and saying, yeah, that's how you have been, but now we're going to create a new image for you. So there's that first image that they're going to see of a behaviour that they no longer desire. We might ask them to push that over to one side and then create a new picture. Sometimes if we describe it as like seeing on a TV screen. So the old picture will be in colour and they'll have been associated in it, and the new picture will be in black and white just to begin with and dissociated, so they're just looking at an image of how they'd like to be. So if we take that first example of they want to create a new picture of themselves as a non-smoker, maybe they'll see themselves looking healthy, maybe in their hand instead of a cigarette they've got money because they're not burning their money, they're not wasting their money. So they see this picture very clearly. Maybe their family is around them, maybe they're looking healthier. The kind of picture that they can create in their own mind. So we have the new picture, the new image, and we have the old picture. What we can do then is to shrink this new picture down into a little square and put it maybe in the top of a corner, maybe the left or the right corner of the old picture. So now they've got the old picture in front of them again, and the new picture is just a tiny little square. The next part of this is going to begin to change that imprint that they have in their mind. And this particular technique is called a Swish Technique, and you'll understand why it's called that. So I would say to a client, okay, so now you've got that old picture in front of you. There you are with that old habit. It's in colour, there's the cigarette coming up towards your mouth, and you've got this new image maybe in the top right hand or the left hand corner. So I'm going to count from 1 to 3. When I say 3, I want you to let those two pictures change places. So what happens is the old picture becomes the little tiny square and the new image becomes the big square. So it's not this but this one, not this but this one. So I'd count 1, 2, 3 and make that sound swoosh. And in the time it takes them to change those images over, so they're now looking at the new picture. And the old picture is the tiny little square. We could have a little dark square. Now it's very important that we do this time after time, and we each go about doing this swish in our own way, in a way that we think that's going to work for our clients. We develop it, and it's certainly what Richard Bandler wanted us to do, to not be so precise about things, but to play around with it and maybe have it in a different way, but the outcome is exactly the same. Now I've seen this Swish technique performed before by trainers, and I think they think that people are very quick with their brains and they can make those images change, but The reality is that some people can do it quickly and some people take their time. It may take up to 5 seconds before they can get rid of the old image and bring the new image in. And I think as therapists we can be flexible about this and say, okay, let's do it slowly to begin with. Maybe they'll get quicker when they catch up with it because they have never done this technique before. They don't know what it's about. They just know that you're asking them to do certain things. So once we've got that new image there, we need to reverse them again because we're going to do it several times or more. So back comes the old picture there, the new image again, back into that little dark square again. And again, we're going to count from 1 to 3, swish, and get them to see the new picture. Now I tend to do this about 3 or 4 times. And then what I found has worked most successfully so that I know that the client can do this themselves and begin to allow that old picture to neutralise or dissipate, is I want them to do it for themselves. So many therapists have just done it for 4 times and think that that's enough. But maybe that old picture that's there has been quite a strong picture in the past. And so therefore it may take a little bit more time. So I'll probably say something typically like, now what I'd like you to do now is you're going to make that sound inside your own mind. You're going to hear yourself going swish, and you are going to change those 2 pictures over. So the old picture becomes the little dark square and the new picture becomes big in front of you. And I want you to keep swapping them back and forth until you begin to notice that the old picture does begin to just neutralise or break up, just begins to disappear, and that you just can't get it back again. And the only picture that remains is the new image. Now it's at this point that we want our clients to take as much time as they want to. I'm not talking about 10 minutes, but sometimes people can take maybe up to 3, 4, even 5 minutes. So we need to be patient with our clients and let them do this work themselves. Some do it remarkably quick, and we'll need to know whether they are doing this successfully. So after each time when I've swished, I've usually asked them to lift a finger up to let me know that they have followed all of my instructions. And then when they are going through this process themselves and eventually recognizing that the old picture is gone and the new picture is remaining there, then they can lift their finger up again. It probably makes more sense than having to say yes or no or nodding their head. That's a quick way of letting themselves know and you know that they're following and they're on track with what you're doing. And again, sometimes other therapists just are expecting that client to go along with what they want them to do. And the poor client is just thinking, okay, I'll just say yes, okay, but it actually hasn't worked. So we do need to know, and by letting them do this technique themselves, then they are going to tell you eventually when the old image is gone. And so at that point we can say, that's really good. So now what I want you to do is to turn that new picture exactly the way that you want to be. Turn it into colour. Brighten it up now, bring it very close to you so that you can now step into it. So we want our clients to be associated into this new picture, into this new behaviour now. So it's see what you can see, feel what you can feel, and hear what you can hear. So maybe going through some scenarios now in this new image. So a very confident person, a non-smoker, eating healthily, all of those kind of habits. Maybe it's something like biting their nails. Now they're looking at their hands with lovely nails. Maybe they've been to a manicurist and they've had their nails painted and how proud they are of their nails. So it could be any kind of behaviour that they've had before that they dislike. Now they've got this new image. And as they take this new image now, we can future pace them as well into the future with this new behaviour. So it's quite a simple technique, but it does help that client to re-imprint. So not this, but this, not this, but this. So we've got this new picture in their mind, very clear, very sharp. This is how they're going to be in the future. And that is the Swish technique.